Form is temporary, class is permanent. There once was a great dynasty which ruled the land for longer than any before or after. They had the mightiest champions in their service. They fought together impeccably. They dominated all opposition and even in their rare defeats, rose again to assert their right to rule. Then, a darkness fell over the kingdom. Powerful and aggressive enemies overran the realm. Talented tacticians rose up to seize power. From within their native land, a force emerged which embodied their own strengths to an even higher degree of virtue. The old kings lost battle after battle, and soon were a bedtime story of the excellence of yesteryear. Along came a wizard, who boasted understanding of the natural realm and displayed access to the zone of imagination. He joined forces with the old kings as their council, and their fortunes began to change. Now, ninjas in pajamas again look to rule, to take back what was theirs, and to forge a new dynasty which again paints the world black and gold.
To forge a new dynasty. It is the Ninjas in Pajamas, and Flipside stands in their way now as we have completed Group A. We move into Group B. It is our third day here at the Major if you've just joined us. And new faces have also joined us at the desk. Who the bloody hell let you on the desk, Dan? Good to have you here, mate.
Why, hello
Feeling
there.
good? You looking fly?
I think it's only appropriate that for the NiP game we actually have Threat's girlfriend here.
Nice.
Dan, you know what? You're a fresh face. You've just been beaten up by Yanko. I'll give you the great pleasure of introducing this matchup to perhaps an unfamiliar viewer.
Well, I think this one is going to be quite interesting because the record that stands currently in this series is actually quite one-sided, and that was even before Threat jumped in. And
Sure.
Since Threat jumped in, it has been incredibly one-sided. I don't think since his new structure has been put in place that Flipside have even taken a single game away from them. And from a map veto standpoint, I mean, we'll end up getting to that, but that's actually going to tell us why it's so difficult for Flipside.
Yanko, do the odds just stacked up against Flipside in every way here?
Definitely. I believe that it's a case of, you know, teams again having similar play styles now that ever since NiP introduced Threat as their coach and in-game leader, but even besides that, the NiP is just better at playing that particular style, and they have just better players all across the board.
So what, you're just describing kind of Flipside as a poor man's NiP since Threat's arrival? Is that what we're saying here, Jason?
Very poor, Alex.
Ouch.
Destitute.
Blade is somewhere crying right now.
I mean, that's always the knock on Flipside, is they have the tactics, they have the structure, they have the really, really intelligent play style, but they don't have the power to really execute it. They don't have the players that can really bring it to bear against the best teams.
I'd argue Waylander, new addition, was them looking for that, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, but him and Worldart are the ones you'd think of, but they're very up and down. They're very inconsistent. You never know when they're going to show up and to what degree they're going to show up, if they're going to hit that peak or if they're just going to stay kind of flat. And actually, even just the other day, we saw Blade being the top fragger on that team, which should never happen. That should actually never happen.
I feel maybe a good argument or a good way to explain it is that Flipside has limited ways of winning the game, right? It has to be that system, the strategy is working and all of that, while NiP on one hand, yes, they have the same thing. They have a great game plan, a plethora of strategies, but they also have some amazing individuals who, even when, you know, maybe the strategies start faltering a little bit, you have Gatright, you have Forest who can, with some, you know, amazing individual performances, just take over the game, or at least give you that small bump when you need it.
Definitely this kind of, a team that you would expect legendary status almost automatically applied to is NiP. New addition, Pit, this is his first major. They're on the far left.
I actually think he's been one of the big keys for this team having this kind of success recently, because it's true, Threat came in and we're seeing better tactics, better strategies, but then we're also seeing Get Right, Force, Exist Fabric, all these guys are having a bump in their performance, but it's Pith who really has like had this big increase, like things that we didn't really expect to see out of him. He's had games where he's leading the scoreboard, he plays a very important role in the team, and he's been very impactful. That's the key. It's not just the number of kills he's putting up, it's the impact that he's had in some of these tournaments and matches for NiP has been stellar, I think.
I think it's about right to start kind of brainstorming the veto here. Dan, you immediately mentioned, you said it's going to be interesting when it comes to the veto. What were your opening thoughts about this veto?
I mean, I kind of feel like it's kind of going to be a bit of a permaban situation when it comes to Flipside and Cash. Usually against NiP, they don't generally tend to do super well. They did actually have one fairly close match when Threat was playing at the previous major, but apart from that, that's about it.
Yanko, have they just given them Cash because of the whole format now? Like, that's a free pick for NiP now.
That's got to tell you there's something prepared for Cash.
That is definitely a little bit out of the ordinary. And Train goes away straight away. And Train is another one where Flipside actually, they've actually had their best result. In fact, their only win against NiP was actually on Train. It's quite dominating. And it's a map that does definitely play well for Flipside. So that's also quite a surprising one. And that obviously allows the pick of Overpass here, which is really awesome when it comes to, for NiP. So that's kind of interesting.
So they could have Overpass and Cash Yanko to the opening 2 maps.
Yeah, I feel that it's nigh impossible to veto against NiP, especially if you're in a position of Flipside when you have a map you don't play at all, which is Dust 2. Cash, at least they've played here and there. They at least have some sort of a game plan coming into that particular map, so they kind of forced into the Dust 2 ban. NiP, on the other hand, can veto pretty much whatever they like out of the other maps. They decide to go for Train over Overpass because that's a map that maybe they don't play as much, have had mixed results on it, and then Flipside goes for that pick, knowing that it's one of NiP's weaker maps. NiP decides to go for the T side, which is interesting. It is the weaker side on the map, but you have teams who, and NiP is known for this, they like to pick T side simply because that means you dictate the pace of the game. You are the one making the moves, and your opponents have to react to you, and the Cash pick is not a surprise at all. It is NiP's best map. They only lost first time on LAN recently at DreamHack Summer Grand Finals. They lost to Immortals on it. So, and we have the Mirage as the decider.
Well, fortunately, we can focus our attention on Overpass as we have got time to talk about the other 2 maps as they do crop up. So, Overpass first map, wrap in your prediction alongside the map, Moses.
I mean, it's not a bad opening map for Flipside because it is very tactical, so it lends to their strengths as well. It lends to NiP's also in that sense because they're both very good with tactics. But I mean, it just goes back down to the players. I think NiP's just got too strong of players for Flipside to find any major advantage in terms of strategy. So I'm going to take NiP on this first map.
I feel like it might be quite a predictable prediction segment here.
I'd like to try and find silver linings for Flipside in the sense that, you know, NiP has been, you know, struggling with pistols, but at this tournament they won all 4 pistols that they had. So maybe World at it because on the CT side he's pretty mobile, goes towards both A and B. So if he can show up, maybe that makes things a bit more difficult for NiP.
Forrest might have his work cut out for him. Dan,
yeah, and I feel like this is obviously, as we saw that it was a pick for Flipside, that this is definitely the best hope for them because typically with Blade teams, you know, dating way back, back when you had like Flamey and Bondic and so on, this is always a map that worked very well for his calling style. He was always able to kind of structure how his T side should play out quite well. And if World is going to be able to, or properly on the CT side, I feel like they have a pretty good shot on both sides, but this is the best chance for them, I think, across the entire series of maps.
Well, you heard it from the 3 on the desk. The best chance Flipside have is right now. Map 1 of our second best of 3 here for day 3 of ESL One Cologne. Your casting pair for this one is Pansy and Blue. Plu is what I'm going to call you. Enjoy.
Suckers.
All right, guys, welcome back. And indeed, this is going to be an interesting matchup here. The desk has already outlined this. The realm of NiP is looking pretty strong, at least in this instance. With this map pool coming in, Flipside have a tough task at hand, Luke.
Yeah, and especially when you consider, too, that Flipside's really big fraggers haven't necessarily shown up to this matchup so far. That being like World Edit and Waylander were the players I was expecting to really show up, especially when we consider their performance at the qualifier. But again, those are going up against kind of lesser teams, so they get a bit elevated there. Here, they haven't really shown up. They struggled through their match versus Optic yesterday, managed to get through that barely, but I mean, now they have to go against the Titans that are NiP, and that's going to be a whole new challenge to work through.
Yeah, and you would say Blade showing up is also a worrying sign to a degree. He was one of the only players to have a massive impact throughout their earlier games. No one else really shining as brightly, and that's not what you want to be seeing. As you highlighted, there are other guns that should be at the forefront for that team. So for them, this should be a map where they could hopefully find a little bit more of that form that they're known for, where some of these players can find some of that performance. Your Waylander, your World Edit, these guys to have the impact. And hell, I wouldn't mind a Markelov performance here or there. Shara, if he can be consistent. Markelov seems to be in a good mood, at least.
Yeah, definitely. Always seems like he's a fairly happy gentleman. But we should be getting into this match at any moment, guys. And for NiP, while I definitely feel like they're going to take this, I wouldn't feel like it's a sure bet, especially when we consider they have been having a few problems on this map within the past couple of months. Not just in general, but when we look at like their pistols on T side, which is an area which they've actually been excelling in so far at this event. It's probably the weaker side for them, so it does kind of question as to why they picked it to start off here. We will find out though in a moment if they've managed to fix that and the following rounds, which has been another key area judging from their matchup yesterday. As we get into things right now, they'll be starting off on T side, and look at Shara, already getting very aggressive, doing some great damage early on to Forest and Freiburg.
And they're going to have some idea of what's coming to a degree. I'm not sure how much he'd seen, but enough that they still have already 4 players towards this side of things. Bear in mind, Blade's over there. Well, it is on the point where he can rotate back pretty quickly towards A if required. Waylander having a bit of a feeling of what's coming his way. He's going to retract back towards the A side as well. And you can see NiP just trying to get some map control, keeping Get Right around so no one can just find their way around the back of it. And NiP looking like they had a bit of pace to begin with, but hitting the brakes on that, and then going to just reset things. Again, they want to take themselves as close to the sides, get those Glocks, that P250 in that range where they can really operate to the highest degree.
And now as we take a look at NiP, they'll start to creep their way through the bathrooms now towards the A-bomb site. Waylander is going to be your first point of defense outside of the boxes now, but NiP are still keeping things oh so quiet so that they can explode out in one large motion into the bomb site. However, on the opposite side of things, Flipside Markelov trying to find some intel down there, but it's too late to find any of it, as now the Force is coming into the bomb site. Get Right finding the first strike there. Blade holds it back, but ultimately it's the T's that dominate the playing field. They move their way in. The 3-2 trade. Shara, though, with a nice push back over towards Semi. Grabs 1 kill, but there's Get Right again trading it back. Down to Markelov now in a 1-on-2.
They had opportunities there, Flipside, but they just didn't land the shots. And now the 1v2 is going to be pretty tough for Markelov. No kit to hand, no flash, no utility to build back into this exist going all the way through. Sure, those Glocks aren't ideal maybe at this range, but they can certainly do more than enough. So Markelov trying to find one of these 2 players, and so far NiP showing real restraint here more than anything. Forest will be the first in the line, and Forest does deliver. Again, NiP keeping true to trend thus far during the major with a very clean record in their pistols and a very well-constructed round towards that A site.
So they get that out of the way. Now the second round is where we started to see some problems surface for them quite a bit over the course of this event. But it looks like it's going to be the full investment coming in from Flipside now as they go for the upgraded pistols. A couple saves coming in here and there, most notably on World Edit, obviously to save up for the op, but Shara just goes completely in, buying up an SMG on the second round.
Shara generally does play that kind of B-monster push, so maybe if he can get a good position there with that UMP, he can do some good work, but it doesn't look like NiP are having any of that. Again, something that prior to this event you'd go towards is how well they play those anti-ecos, how well they kind of come into this. They very rarely drop them, but as you noted, it's starting to become maybe not as much of a smooth ride, but you can see the patience here coming through. Everyone sitting back quite far, taking their time on this, and they might head up A long, try and find room for those rifles to really excel, but they still have those 3 SMGs that they really want to get into the action.
Starting to try and take some control over towards long, with Pitt leading the charge in that direction. Already pushing World Edit back behind the flower pot there. He's not going to want to take any risks on poking out there and just ultimately getting destroyed at long range here just yet. And inside there of the bathroom connector, we have Waylander waiting too. He's going to push in now, and he's got his back turned, so easy pickings for Pitt. And they'll start to press forward now. There is another target trying to hide through the smoke here, but he doesn't last very long either. Forest, Get Right, racking up those 2 kills. And now they can easily push towards either site here and only have to deal with either Markelov or Shara on either one.
Yeah, Shara really the only man of threat here with that UMP, and there it is coming in for only one, though. Markelov's going to make more of this with a P250, but no armor to play with. He's going to be in a tough situation and does get mowed down by Pit in the end. Nice play from NiP, keeping 3 alive. One of the 2 rifles found. Not sure if they can get the other in time. No. So, 1 rifle kept over, and they can buy back into this where they want. They can go back on the SMGs. They can keep farming away because they know that Flipside is going to be operating with such limited money. I like the way they played it out, going towards generally where WorldEdit plays, assuming that he's probably only going to have that P250 or extremely low purchases into these rounds. I think that's always a nice plan to come up with. And NiP keeping things clean. That's exactly how they want to start this out.
It's going to be the trash round now for Flipside. Very minimal investments, as we already noted there. Just the 5.7 on Blade, and the P250 with a few nades coming in for Markel off there. Already starting to see Freiburg get in a position to counter out Blade too. Has pushed his way down, but hesitates on actually pushing out to the hallways. And the rest of the team, the big highlight here is that Flipside have gone for the risky stack 4 on the B-bomb site in hopes of catching a quicker paced ninjas, but doesn't look like that's going to be happening, as they're right now just hanging out around the fountain and playground areas further back towards A.
You can't really blame Flipside for going for something all in. You've got to hope for the best when you have so little. Not quite to the Fnatic degree of winning against full buys with just pistols, so you kind of have to stack these sides. They had a little bit of utility with Markelov then. He had a smoke and a nade, put it down towards Monster, hoping that if there was a rush, he'd greet it with a smile, but none to be found as NiP still build up extremely slowly with such caution.
The good news is that because of the fact that they sort of caught on to this, yeah, you could see Blade actually getting the intel earlier on. He was able to put players from Flipside in position. They moved off of that 4 stack, but there's a bit of a boost play now. Waylander's going to leave himself in the smoke just as it fades. Not a whole lot he can do to keep himself alive in that situation. And the peek from WorldEdit too, essentially just giving his life away there. Markelov not having much luck either. And NiXXIST takes down Shara, so just Blade left up and running. He grabs 1, but very minimal impact. And with the ninjas being on the T side right now, they can easily sort of eat up that death and rebuy to going into this round.
And it's all good and well playing stacks towards sites, but if you take individual one-to-one fights, it's not going to go any better. You might as well just play default if that's the plan. So really negating maybe what they had in mind. But this is the round we're going to be looking forward to. For one, we've got WorldEdit on the AWP nice and early. This is something we didn't get to see too much of, you know, in their game against Na'Vi before. It was kind of lacking for quite some time. Their economy never robust enough, so this could be a good factor for them. Hopefully he gets a big start here and we start to see the WorldEdit that we talk about so often. But again, NiP will know what they're coming up against. Maybe take their time again, see if they can work out if anyone's going to go aggressive. NiXXIST waiting patiently, but look at Waylander straight up and into their faces by Fountain. Smoke's going to give him a little bit of room to operate under, but he's got to be careful of long. WorldEdit's got his back, so they've created a little bit of a crossfire here to allow a touch of damage, but Blade finding Get Right has eliminated any pressure from that B side.
The early aggression's been great overall from Flipside. The problem is the retreat. They've got to be careful of a counter reaction coming in from the ninjas. Also going to be tossed out by NiXXIST there, but he can't find the mark with his rifle. Only going to end up pushing them back further towards the site. Waylander stays alive for now, and the ninjas still have made no progress on pushing further out and getting some map control going here. Thankfully, still plenty of time left with over a minute on the clock.
How do NiP now go about this? They have all their smoke still left. They can build up a default towards a site, but there's still so many players dedicated towards A. It's going to be an incredibly tough task to break in toward. Still got Waylander on long. He's just sitting with his back to it, maybe waiting for a pop flash in if required, if Blade spots something. You've got WorldEdit sitting on the side itself. Markelov and Shara still on B because you never know what's coming their way. But yeah, Blade spotting for Waylander at this point. He's going to have to leave that dry, as he might have to support WorldEdit elsewhere at this point.
WorldEdit has a position, but it's going to be compromised by a smoke tossed in there. NiP trying to push their way over through short over to the site now. But Flipside, if we still see the ninjas coming in here, they're going to be absolutely ready for this kind of a take. A few more players on the rotate, still ready to move back up. Waylander's been flashed though, but nobody notices him over here by the sign. He grabs 2. Ultimately though, it doesn't matter, as NiXXIST, Pit, and Freiburg find 3 more kills to get them control over the site. Flipside's going to try to rotate back up, and it is going to be an even 2-on-2, but the 2 remaining members from the CT side have 0 utility to work with and forge their way back in.
Going to be pretty tough here, considering Shara's the one with the kit, so he needs to be the one keeping himself relatively safe, or at least not losing that kit far away. But Freiburg going to deny the step forward, spots the barrel of the gun, and Shara gets taken out, leaving it all down to Markelov. And how much can you do in this situation? He knows where Freiburg is, but no idea where Forrest is. Spots the little hop up, but can't punish it. And he does actually catch out Freiburg. Going to go back in for this one, but clock is ticking. He doesn't have a kit here, and Shara's kit is pretty far away. He does take down Forrest, but I doubt he's going to have time for this one.
It's going to be running out of time way too quickly. Even he knows it. Time to run away from that one. Ninjas will be celebrating as they have been able to take control of the first gun round. Markelov makes it out alive with the rifle, but that's all he is going to do. The question now for Flipside, do we see them go fully into this next round? They might be able to justify it. There's kind of just enough cash, but at the same time, if they want to focus on the long game here, it's still going to be much better off to have the other 4 players save up.
I think that's what we're going to see. Wondering where they're going to put Markelov. He's got a decent spawn for maybe pushing up towards Fountain if he fancies it, or just go play as he normally does. He's the only one really with anything to play with here, so he could just go and position himself over by B as he likes to do usually. Everyone else going to go and play as much as they can with those pistols. Again, they have, you know, a couple of 5.7s and P250s, but against this full buy from NiP, who've looked pretty crisp so far with this sort of play, it's hard to find a way in your imagination to see it working out. But a little bit of a boost there between Markelov and Shara. Going to back away from that. No information found instantly.
The Ninjas, though, are still sticking to the very held-back style of play, not moving out until they get the timer down a little bit more there, not trying to give away any intel to the members of Flipside. Because they're not hesitating now that they've got the guns in hand, being a little bit more aggressive here, like pushing out into areas like the bathroom connector, and even out past areas like the connector itself, towards down the B-bomb site. So they'll be holding up, but right now the Ninjas will start to look to take some control. Most notably, you can see the molly going out there to compromise the position behind the tree. Pretty common spot, but nobody from Flipside going to be there on this save round. They're tucked away a little bit. Waylander is probably the most aggressive right now, and he's got a fight coming his way.
And the timing could just be awful for him. The flash comes in, catches him completely. Pit looking for the punish, and he gets it. Comfortably done again. NiP falling back to this take on long, going through toilets towards A every single time they know they're against. Pretty much a bit of a down in the dumps team, down towards those pistols. Forest knows someone's tucked towards the left. Didn't expect someone closer, but it doesn't matter. Blade gets found, and one by one they peek, and one by one they get punished by Forest. There we go. Nice little bit of class towards Forest in this, but it's an easy round all in all as Get Right catches the rotate, and NiP keep a bit of a splendid beginning in this one. Scoreline-wise, this is a bit of a disaster of a start for Flipside. This was discussed at the desk. This was a choice from NiP to start on the T side. Not too uncommon if you go back in the history books of NiP. Even speaking to Heaton back when we casted at Katowice, he often said that they like to start on the T side just because they can dictate the pace, they can get themselves warmed up, take in the fight, and they're very, very well set towards it. However, Flipside now coming back in the 6th round, of course, have far greater money now to play with. Double AWPs coming out. Well, it didn't get too much done with it before, but now you've got Markelov picking up, who's again, a bit hit and miss, but everyone always gets their hopes up.
World is going to play what appears to be a more stable position on the B-bomb site, but obviously we have the aggression coming out in big strides from World and Waylander, who's pushed all the way up to the fountain right now. Looking to see if he can grab Pit, but Pit knows something may be up here with the smoke and plate. Trying to hunt down the head right now, but Waylander misses the opening connection, and now it's time to bail out because the rest of the Ninjas could wrap on him very easily and make it a bad day for those guys.
Waylander, as brave as a lion going forward, but gets outdone by the sheer patience coming in from NiP and the brilliant read they've had thus far. Look at this, Exist already watching for that push up again. As soon as that smoke came in, he was ready for it. Now, well did it, and Waylander going to make a quick retreat, but it's all going to come down towards Connector. Blade catches out Freiburg, trying to make a play off the back of it, but Get Right not going to find anything back either. So advantage will rest into hands of Flipside. No trade coming off the back of that.
The good news is, though, is that World he never really fired his shot off when Waylander was screwing around from further back up there. Unfortunately, Get Right is just going to be allowed to push right into Blade's face, so it compromises that position. World holding for now, able to take down Pit, and the Ninjas are going to be down to 3. As they move up, though, Waylander still alive inside of the bathroom, and he's going to find the kill against Get Right. Exist trying to turn it around, hugs the safe corner. Unfortunately for Waylander, he's still going to be poking out a little bit there, so Exist can finish him off, but they'll still be down a man, and World basically at full HP, sitting over here on the A-bomb site, should be able to stop them if they just go for a direct push from long.
It's going to need a massive effort from Forest, at least in my eyes here, but he doesn't have much time to play for these picks. That double AWP presence is still so drastic. Sure, if they could get a plant, maybe NiP could work something out from this, but as you said, with 2 players already posted here, it's very unlikely. Smoke goes in, Molly's going, they've cleared a little bit. Both going to face together. Now, Forest going to go straight in for this plant. Actually couldn't find the spot. Oh, what a brave plant he's gone for, but Weldon doesn't care. He finds him. It's existing in a 1v2. 3 seconds left, not a hope in hell, and Shara puts him out of his misery. Eventually, Flipside's brazen aggression pays off.
And Flipside kind of giving NiP a bit of a taste of their own medicine, I guess you could say, as at the very end of that one, Waylanders hides behind Semi. They know that they're going to be pushing into that site to make a last-ditched attempt. He doesn't give anything away until those final few seconds, and they ultimately are able to stop the plant and finally put a round onto the board here for Flipside, keeping the money quite low over the course of these 5 rounds. Of the Ninjas never really solidified a very good economy, so looking at this one, if they end up dropping this round, they're already going to be broken, and Flipside will have the edge in that regard. The double op comes right back into this round, however, as the maps were saved. Markaloff and World Edit still going to be the ones playing with them, but the Ninja's a bit more proactive this time on taking control beyond Fountain. World Edit's still stuck outside. He's flashed. He can't see anything, and Pit not only destroys Waylander by the Fountain, but he takes down World Edit and then follows it up with another one on the Blade.
Pit just taking matters into his own hands there. Look at this, guys. Like, all right, guys, I'm really bored of you just kind of getting outdone by a couple of weird positions. Let me just go run out of them and show you how it's done. All right, the response being, however, so far is the fact that Shara and Markaloff found one, and that is it. They are locked the hell out from that site. Already in Exist and Forest, between them, they're starting to look for where these guys could be. They know roughly where they were, but this could be tough to take these guns away. Good positions coming out from Flipside. Markaloff catching Pit is going to certainly help matters for them. And Markaloff, again, might have another opportunity to get another one on the scoreboard.
Right, trying to sneak through it right now, and not only this, but Exist eliminating Shara. Distracts from it, so he's tucked away here for now, but the big mission is trying to save this up for the next round. The Ninjas still sneaking out looking for him, and Markaloff misses that shot, and immediately afterwards Exist, as the edge he needs to push in, takes down Markaloff, and they're right back on to winning this match, now 6-1.
And you've got to feel that round almost echoes back, or a couple of these rounds are echoing back to what Moses said on the desk. The fact that, sure, okay, tactically there's a nice kind of balance between these two teams to some degree, both like that tactical style with a dash of aggression here and there. And we saw, okay, well, you know, Waylander getting up towards the Fountain every now and then, but then the individual power that came from Pit in that round, another player who was highlighted, just superseded them. That individual kind of brilliance that can come out every now and then, just pushing NiP forward. So 6-1, money's gone for Flipside, down to, again, these pistols, going for that 4-1 stack out. Last time they took individual fights, it went very, very poorly, but again, the composure from NiP, very much on point here.
On the eco from Flipside, they're going to be taking another risk stack here. 4 down on B, already moving World Edit up to A, granted, but Waylander's the one that's going to try to watch out for this and grab the intel. NiP are still playing the early rounds here inside of the playground and fountain areas, and Waylander's got to be the one to try and grab this intel if they push out towards long, which has been a favorite thing for these guys to do. Get Right, though, posted further back just outside of the T-spawn, pulls back the aggression from Shar as he moved up there to try to grab some intel, and now they push out towards long. There was a good pop flash from Waylander. He's taking down Pit. Forest, he's looking for more now. Exist, trying to peg him down, but he can't do it. Waylander finds a third kill onto Exist. What just happened?
I've almost got the feeling that was actually a team flash or a pop flash gone wrong from NiP then as they tried to flash in towards long. And it's left Freiburg and Geralt in a terrible situation. The 3-play stack up long is now going to come into effect. Here we go, they all face together. 1-2, not the third. World Edit is going to finally keep that one in check. They've recovered the AWP, but there's Geralt still on the loose. The bomb a million miles away though for him, and merely 38 seconds. I don't see how this one's possible.
He's going to try to run a flank. As you can see, already moving all the way up to the A-bomb site now to wrap around, but World Edit with a new op in hand now is also paying attention, and he's got the angle and the shot. Get Right walks right into the crosshairs of World Edit. As in that round of all the rounds, Flipside managed to absolutely destroy NiP. Waylander with some big heroics here, and you can see it didn't look like it was a flash from NiP, not Flipside, that ended up screwing them over there.
A bit of an error, allowing him to get away with that. Of course, tucked behind the rock, he didn't get completely caught by that flash, so a bit unfortunate for NiP, but a mistake nevertheless will get punished by players of any caliber of this kind of degree, I guess. They're going to take that opportunity with both hands and run with it. So back into this one. NiP going to be suffering a little now there. The money's not so robust. It's still been a close game with a couple of these rounds. No aggression towards Fountain this time. A little bit later there for Waylander. Again, look at him pushing up straight away, but that's not where NiP are looking. They want to hit that B site, and Markaloff has to be careful. He's pretty pushed up. Pit looking to do something about it. Shara just playing the off angle by those toxic barrels, and Pit just comes in again. This guy is allowed so much freedom, and Shara is now the last line of defense, should I say, on B. And it's now all up in the air.
Blade rotating in to try and stop it, but Waylander as well is destroyed by Forest. Blade's going to be boxed out now because of the Molotov. And for World Edit, well, he's up in heaven, but there's not a whole lot for him to see up there currently. Get Right, stuck safely behind the pole. Forest does go for the cross there, but on the timing shot, he misses the connection. The good news is that smoke setup is going to allow Blade to get a lot of movement through the pit to try and line up a flank against these players, but just open fires, hoping he can find somebody from that position through the smoke, but there is no one there. And these guys from Flipside just cannot seem to find anything on this site to start the retake.
Yeah, Blade has a smoke, but that is it to work with by now. The orb's going to come flying out, and he loses out the fight very quickly there towards Forest. He's pretty much secured this round unless World Edit goes to superhuman levels. It's not going to happen. Get Right moves forward, takes the fight, upgrades his gun for the sake of it, and now NiP in a great position again. Even when their money was getting a little low, it's still not perfect. 3.3 sitting on towards Freiburg and Pit themselves, but in the other side of the Flipside camp, it's pretty dire. They're down, and they are looking a little out in this one, at least when NiP pick up that pace a bit, and this is, again, the really brilliant sign from NiP that we've been enjoying watching recently, is the fact they have so much kind of variety to go to in their playstyle, whether it be a quicker hit here and there, or that really slow, methodical pace that works out just as well on occasion. So it looks like a bit of a different start, again, coming out for NiP. Maybe starting to read into the fact that Flipside, when they're down on the money, do like to stack out towards 8. And, well, already Forest finding Shara is going to give them a nice step towards his site.
Blade getting denied in his attempts to push out from the connector there, with Freiburg racking up another kill. There is not a whole lot to be seen from Flipside in this round. World in it, well, pushed into a corner, and Headright's going to come in to finish the job as Waylander, now the last player alive, hiding in that bathroom connector. But there will be no frags for him, assumably, in this round. Had a great chance built up to try and do some huge damage to NiP and bring that scoreline a little bit closer after they won that last round due to the big mistake on that pop flash from NiP. But unfortunately, their chances were absolutely destroyed as we saw that very quick attempt at a B-bomb site take coming in from NiP on the 9th round. It worked out great. Again, Pit doing work with those entries, and Flipside just didn't know how to handle it. So immediately, that advantage which they gained was lost, and they're still losing by a huge margin.
Massively so. And the money's going to be so here, there, and everywhere for Flipside. It just isn't being able to stabilize at this point. And as you highlighted, Pit has been absolutely instrumental in some of these rounds. Get Right as well has been having a good performance thus far, but everyone else is stepping up. That's the thing. It's just an overall good performance coming out from NiP. No one's shying away. No one's not doing their job. But for Flipside, I'm waiting to see more. It's like we've seen the double AWP. It didn't really have its effect as much. We've seen a couple of rounds go here, there, which was, a messed up pop flash from one of the NiP players, which allowed so much more room for Flipside to work. They need to get into these gun rounds, and they need to get there fast because this scoreline's already looking pretty one-sided, Blue.
Yeah, and it's not looking like it's going to change anytime soon, but we do have another opportunity for Flipside to try and do that now coming into this round. They are going to do a rather interesting force, actually, as both Blade and Waylander did not have enough cash to go for the full rifle buy, so they're just going to have 5.7s. Markaloff and Shara do, though, along with World Edit getting the full op buy, might still have enough power to do some damage against the Ninjas here. Ultimately, though, judging from the way things have been going so far, that might not change. Quick smokes coming out from the Ninjas to take control of the entrance to short A. It's going to push World at it, along with Waylander, who've been playing very aggressively out here for basically the entire half, back to the site early.
And NiP are so hyper-aware of that aggression, you can see them already looking for it. Pit checking corners, pushing forward, but there is a very close performance here from Flipside, trying to take close fights, and it's gone pretty badly there, but they want for one trade out. The upgrade towards the rifle at least comes in for Waylander, and Blade will recover the AWP, has to now take care of Long, as NiP starting to pressure these points towards the site. Forrest going to take a step in, doesn't spot anyone, finally gets a glimpse of Blade, who gets the tag, but that's not enough. 1 minute now, the nade does the job. Markloff provides that one to the feet of Forrest, and now 3 left for NiP.
Exist, waiting his time out there, and it works out. Almost grabs a full kill on the Blade, brings it out of 15 HP. The flashbangs, overall, great utility usage so far from Flipside on this round. It's holding NiP back. Freiburg, they're trying to creep in with none of it this time. Waylander's ready for it. Exist rolling in now as well. But the guys from Flipside are happy with the man advantage they have going. They're not going to peek out. They're going to let the Ninjas try to roll into their own positions there. Waylander finding yet another kill, and it's just on Get Right. Finally, he dispatches Waylander, looking for some more pickups here, but drops down, and ultimately Shara catches him with a moment of opportunity. And Flipside will find a 3rd round because of that. Waylander, though, is the one definitely making the big impact so far for these guys. He's giving them the opportunities that are needed to pick up these rounds, and at least 2 of the 3 that they've won so far, he's been the key component in picking it up.
100%, whether that was the aggression towards Fountain, whether it's been these pieces where he's just been hitting these shots substantially better than the others and put them in such a great position where that crossfire just can't be dismantled by NiP. There's so many players already standing there, they have to take the fight towards one and they lose out to the other. So now, as you said, though, they're going back to these double AWPs, they're going back to their investment. The one didn't really pay off as much as maybe we'd hope, but they've got Markaloff back to his. So how do NiP bring themselves into this round? As you can see that aggression being toyed with again, but straight through that connector we go. Get Right's already out. You got Freiburg joining him. Shara's getting a little bit worried about this. You can see Blade and Markaloff all having to kind of get ready for maybe something happening. As Waylander and World have had to give up toilet control, they've had to give up everything towards A and already fall back to site.
For the rest of NiP, pushing up through the connector now. They have 3 players in position to take control and push their way in through the bathrooms here. Still, though, keep in mind, there are 3 from Flipside fully committed down to the B-bomb site. Not even anybody hanging out in heaven or close to the CT main entranceway. They're going to have to fall all the way back when the Ninjas eventually do go for the hit over to the A-bomb site. But the Ninjas still have plenty of time to wait out here, and when they do move in, it's going to be the same players that we've expected so far from this entire half. World Edit and Waylander to try and hold things off here, and they're holding pretty far back too. The boost, though, coming out from World Edit. He's going to see if he can grab anything early, either from the short or long push. This is a bit of a risk, though, because at the same time, the Ninjas have been very on point with these early kills. So if they find him, that's going to be the end of it. He spots the jump it long, and the peek comes out from Forest, but the stack works. World Edit finds Forest, taking him down, and they will again start off with the man advantage in their favor. Now the take comes in, though.
Beautiful usage of the mollies again, trying to push him out of position, but the shots are just landing perfectly for Flipside here. Again, not pressuring them, allowing them a couple of seconds, not quite right on the timing, and again, Waylander steps out, catches out exists. It's Freiburg who has to face the music, and Waylander is there to sing the tune. Again, Flipside starting to stabilize here in these rounds. Maybe that bit of aggression to begin with didn't work out towards those mid kind of rounds, back and forth they went, but now we're starting to see that performance coming in from some of these players.
Well, that almost went God mode at the end there, too. He almost hit a wallbang from the back steps behind the dumpster onto the player that was planting the bomb. Just a little bit above the mark to be able to make that shot. But at the end of the day, Flipside still pick it up, and they are now starting to round a bit of a comeback here. Still a little bit of a way to go here, but on this round at the very least, we're not going to see too large of a buy coming out from NiP. It's just Tech9's, a few hints of utility here and there. Freiburg is just going to pick up a P250, but they have lost to a Tech9, and at least the power of at least one Tech9 a few rounds back when we saw Pitt finding those entries after they lost on the full save from Flipside.
Well, Tech9's no armor outside of Pitt there, who's got fully upgraded armor. I'm wondering how they take this one forward. Maybe trying to catch anyone out who went for that early aggression. No one's going to be there. And again, these boosts above smoke, they're paying out normally pretty well while it turns the flash, but actually gets into a little bit of trouble. But Waylander, pure babysitting ability at that point, but it's Pitt who's going to break through. But it does leave these two in a bit of a pinch, and Forrest going to pull on that pinch, and now we're going to get the plant coming in. And again, Exist finds one more. It's down to a 2v2.
These Tech9s are doing so much work. Exist with another headshot against Markelov. Shara is the last one going, but there's his first pickup. Keep in mind, the bomb never actually went down. They never got secure hold of the bomb site. So now it's Shara versus Exist. Exist has it up in hand, though, and he's going to line up the shot against Shara to close out the round. The Ninjas, just with Tech9s, find another one against Flipside. And their lead grows yet again.
And every time it looks like Flipside have started to work something out, starting to get ahead, NiP just start ripping the skin off just to get on their nerves at this point. It's unbearable to watch almost. Tech9's no armor, and they had so much room to play with in that. But now looking at the buy, you saw it, the money's not been stabilized yet for Flipside. It's enough for a buyback in, but look at it, it's not great still. You've got, what, the Famus with Blade there? So still, this is up in the air. Flipside can recover from this. They need a couple more rounds on the board for them, I can imagine. But again, we're seeing Blade going forward, Waylander, Wilder, they're all looking for some early info here. And at the moment, it's just going to be Get Right and Freiburg barreling through that connector. They like to just slice this map in half almost, really get some dominance. But how can they work from it? There's such a presence still from Flipside towards A.
Ninjas, though, grouping up, and again, we still have Waylander and World Edit out a little bit as they start to push their way up from connector. World Edit going to be sticking around. No boost up this time. They know they're in there, and they have connected some damage early on to Freiburg. World Edit misses the shot, though, falling back even further, somewhat abandoning Waylander, but he'll be able to retreat, too. They're playing it safe right now. They don't want to take a risk against the Ninjas' strong arm push over towards the site. They're just looking to hold things on the entry from short.
Waylander and Wild Edit, brave as you like, going back into this. We'll see if it pays off. Again, still pretty vulnerable here. Once that smoke dissipates, it's going to be tough for them to hold on to this, but NiP are looking like they want to stick to this one for now, at least. And Waylander's getting cautious. He's getting a little bit angsty here. The flash comes out, he turns it, he comes back in for more, and he gets it. A 1-for-1 trade out comes in, but there's still Weld at it, and he's still huge in this, but he just takes the shot too early. He saw the pixel, he took the opportunity, but it didn't work out. Now Pitt has opened up a huge chance here for NiP.
Here's the other problem too. Blade's only down at 17 HP, and he's going to be flashbang now. Exist pushing in, he spotted him, and he's a dead man. Pitt finding another frag on a Markelov. Shara, he has got nothing to do in this round. He's still in the site, so he's got to be careful when he decides to fall back, but there is definitely no hope of him clutching this one out.
Yep, Shara, as you said, backing away from this. And the money's still pretty dire, so Flipside going to have to come back in. A bit of a bad buy, I guess we saw already, as you highlighted in that round. The fact the Blade was so low by the time the hit came in. So little to achieve in that, and NiP keeping 4 players alive at this point at least is excellent for them.
We also had, too, the fact that, again, Waylander, along with World Edit being so adamant on trying to hold outside of the site and keep the Ninjas off of it so they can buy time for those rotations to come in. Normally, specifically Waylander has been pretty good at holding, at least getting 1 or 2 trades before he goes down. This time he only grabs 1 and rolled at it, gets baited out from a shot early. Pitt finding those entries again there and just closing out any of the stragglers. Key component of finding a way into the site. And for Flipside, the pretty solid defense outside of the site, which we had been seeing from World Edit and Waylanders, wasn't present in that round. So they're able to take it yet again, and now 10-4 as we come into the final round of the half. The last buy from Flipside is really not going to be all that great.
No, and an 11-4 half is not good for Flipside, but let's see if they can do something here. They had one of these rounds before where they found a little bit of room to maneuver in, but NiP starting to build back some of that confidence, some of that performance here. Freiburg already catching out Blade is certainly a bad start if you're looking towards what Flipside can achieve into this round, as the rest of the NiP players are looking just so hungry to find these kills. And look at it, Waylander again gets caught out. The aggression not paying off this time.
Underneath, World Edit is going to be waiting just underneath of the steps in Connector. And for Markelov as well, he'll be on the B-bomb site. The Ninjas still just holding back, trying to see if they can punish any more aggression that may be coming out from Flipside. But after already losing 2 of their players, there isn't really going to be room for any more that they need to try and preserve, not risk anything, in the hopes of now rounding it back against the Ninjas. Speaking of which, well, they initially pushed out towards Playground, they've now fallen back. Shar finding at least 1 kill, but he stays out for too long. Pitt finds a trade. Markelov finding another one, though. Takes down Pitt. It'll be 2 on 3, but alone on the B-bomb site. The defense, when the take comes in, is going to be on Markelov alone.
He's backing away from this, or at least readjusting position, so maybe going to go towards that overlooking spot. And World Edit trying to be able to be just relevant in the situation more than anything. He's in a bit of a tough spot himself, because Exist's not far behind him. He might just know exactly what's coming. World Edit has picked up a rifle as well, but he does not predict the fact that Exist will be behind him. But he's going to take the opportunity, take the chance, and he gets it. Gets away scot-free as well, but only into the clutches of Exist. And now it's Markelov down to the 1v1. Both these players picking up 2 kills so far. And Flipside desperately needing this round to close out with a half that wouldn't be too much of a shambles.
15 seconds left. Bomb still not on the ground. Markelov just going to hide up top here, too, to prevent Exist. He knows he's going to be coming somewhere from the connector. So time to hide back and just make sure he can catch him on the outside. He actually had a perfect opportunity with his back turn, but he was down, and it doesn't even matter, though, as Exist when hunting for the frag instead of focusing on that plant, so it's going to end it. And Flipside, nicely played at the end of that round. They didn't really have all that great of a buy either. They just managed to scrape it together with some decent trades towards the end, and thus they will have a glimmer of hope. 5-10, still a lot of work to do, but they've kept it together for the first half.
Just about. Things not looking too clean just yet. There is still room for improvements here on both sides, but for me, it's how does Flipside come back in on that second half?
So with that, guys, that is going to close things out for the first half. We'll be back in just a moment with the second.
NiP starting things off well in this game, again keeping control of that very clean record throughout the pistol and then going forward. However, Flipside have shown it is not all over yet. Finishing that first half off with 5 rounds in their pocket, there is still room to be seen work here from those boys. And we're about to find out how much so.
See now, things not necessarily looking so great for the flip side end of things. Having a good start and trying to resist the Ninjas, but ultimately coming down to it. Pit's entry power, along with Exist and Get Right, we're bringing far too much fire to the power of this match here. And you can already see it right there. Pit absolutely bringing a monstrous performance there. Whereas on Waylander's end of things, pretty respectable one himself, but just not enough to compare against the Ninjas.
And I have to again highlight Pit personally for me as to how much he's answered a lot of his critics. When he joined this lineup, of course, his name doesn't quite sit with the legendary status of the others, and a lot of people were very cynical as to how he'd perform when it gets to these bigger events, how he would fit that role, but he's certainly finding an answer for those critics right about now. Again, hopefully he can keep that up if they do go further into this tournament. We get to see how far he can go, but let's look at the game right now as we are live. It's 5-10, still favorable to NiP, who, bearing in mind, chose to start out on that T side on the first half. Now on the CT side, let's see if that very clean record of their pistols keeps up.
I think the really cool thing too about Pit is he's pulling off a lot of these great entries. Like after Flipside already gained an advantage in quite a few of the rounds. Like they'll pick up a first kill or two by getting aggressive on that CT side, but he still manages to bounce it back and brings quite, I would say, at least like 3 or 4 of the rounds that Flipside may have won back under the control of the Ninjas, and that's why they had such a large score lead for themselves.
Look at this start here for NiP. Such an instantaneous gambit into this one. Freiburg and Get Right kind of playing closer together. You've got Exist there playing almost the man just spotting B. He can't really take much of a fight towards it, but he can watch the cross through, whereas everyone else kind of postured towards that A site. So I actually really like this. Both of them can kind of adjust through between each other. Get Right and Freiburg actually both playing upper. I thought they were closer to the stairs. They pushed themselves towards that. So NiP playing full retake towards that B site.
Whereas on Flipside's end, originally they were pushing out over towards the fountain area. Now they've fallen back though and are looking into a B hit, which could prove very badly as the Ninjas again focusing a lot of their attention to the other side right now. But they're going to shift up and the take is going to start, leaving Exist as the main player to try and hold this back. He's going to need to call for the rotation soon. Or at the very least, they're going to need to start focusing on how they're going to pull off this retake. Can't find any kills on the entry there. We did see some damage going on to Waylander as the assistance comes out, but Exist leaves himself overexposed for too long. He's going to be the first target of this round, going down to Shara. More moving in. Waylander, though, just sitting there. He knows rotations are coming in, but he still sits there. A second kill coming out from far. Shara has been picking up a lot of them so far from Flipside, but he's dead now. They have the bomb down. A lot of time has already expired, and the Ninjas now struggling to get past the CT main entry point. There's another re-kill from Pit, though, taking out World at it, pushing back in. Get Right. He's going to fall to Markaloff just outside of the pit, but another frag comes out from Forest. It's all on Blade. He's keeping himself out there to try and prevent the Ninja Defuse from coming in against Pit, but that smoke's a bit off its mark. Nicely shot from Blade, an instant headshot on a Pit. One more to go. He's wasted so much time, runs out of ammo. He's got the knife out. He's going to run, but he knows he's wasted enough time. Flipside hold the line on the B bomb site, and they're going to take control of this second pistol round.
The clean record has been broken. Beautiful play from Flipside in the end. Just playing patiently. NiP looked like they were ready to play for that retake. They almost put themselves in that position, and it didn't work out. Now Flipside get themselves that first ever so important round on the board in the second half here. 6-10 now, and they go straight towards rifles as well. 3 rifles to be precise. 1 Galil, of course, with Waylander, the UMP for Shara, and World gonna forego this one. Go towards the P250 just so he can build towards that AWP as fast as possible. But on the other side here, Blue, they don't have much either.
Yeah, not a very heavy investment from the Ninjas coming into the second round. Just the upgraded pistols. They're not going to buy up armor or any real additional utility besides Forest Flash behind any of this. So they're going to see what they can find with the Deagles and the CZs holding up the closer positions. And again, it's a gamble stack. 4 down on the B bomb site, trying to hold here, leaving Get Right as the main player watching for an A hit from long as well. Flipside, though, no reason to rush things just yet. They're holding back, and they're taking a page out of what the Ninjas were doing a lot, actually, in their T-half as well. This is what we were seeing a lot from them in the early rounds.
Smart way of doing it. You don't want to play in towards anything that NiP were planning. It gives you opportunities. It allows those rifles to come into their own. But eventually you will have to make that sight hit. But hopefully by that time you have the perfect opportunity to do so. Again, however, NiP looking like they want to go for a stack, and no reason not to. Might as well just give it a bit of a gamble. Looking like they went towards B on this one. Just Get Right over by A.
And Blade pushing his way up now with the rest of the team. We've already seen Get Right relocate just to the outside of the bathrooms on the short approach. And in the meantime, Shara sneaking into the B site where he may find a nasty surprise waiting for him if he's in the wrong position. Brought down to 60 HP, trying to wrap around for Pit, finds him, but Freiburg does grab the trait. Now the actual push comes in, though, and Get Right's position to try and catch those players off guard does not work out at all. He's immediately dispatched by Markaloff, and full control already gained on the A bomb site for Flipside.
Yeah, smart stuff. from Flipside. They're just going to take themselves towards A as soon as those alarm bells ring. As soon as Shara got found after that 1-for-1 trade, they're like, all right, well, they can take the UMP. That's a gun that we don't mind having to look towards getting back if we need to. Just don't want to lose out anymore now to these pistols. Waylander, you got to be careful. I know you like going to that fountain, but it might not be time for a paddle, you know, a bit of a paddle in that pool. Got to be careful. Again, look, Forest is going to make the most of it. Just takes him down. Now Freiburg has a chance to do more damage. You don't want to be losing these rifles. Those 3 rifles invested are massive into this.
A big chase, and all honesty, the biggest thing they're going to get out of that is dropping the upgraded pistols and that UMP, which they recovered. Freiburg with another one against Blade, the clothesline. And for World Edit, he's got another rifle in his own hands here now, but Freiburg at 34 HP, he's going to try to close it out. World Edit thankfully stops the madness, but the madness has taken hold on the rest of Flipside, unfortunately. And with 4 frags coming in against them, that's basically going to destroy their economy for this upcoming round.
A little bit of a shame. Again, the World Edit's got good money, considering he went pretty much without. He was only on that P250, so he could look at an AWP as soon as he wants to. But beyond that, still not perfect. They could have built up so much more, and World Edit actually fancies going for more here. They know that they're going to be on another lowish round with, you know, very limited amounts invested into it, so why not try and go for the farm? He's the player who wants to cash dollar bills, so it is down to just what he can do in this one. Can they just withstand? It looks like NiP going to be going for a little bit of a play here with Pit and Forest, going to be working down towards Connector. Got to be careful, you could have got an overrun, but expecting that slow pace coming into this with that caution, certainly behind Flipside.
World Edit leads the charge for Flipside again as he pushes his way out towards long there. A few of the other players still holding back, but for now, World Edit not moving out just yet, really just trying to gather some info here. And Pitt doing the same from the opposite end. He's been spotted by World Edit, but there we go. There's a nice connection. Knocks 80 health off of Pitt, and he's got a run with his tail between his legs there, back to the A-bomb site, as it is another stack from the Ninjas on this save. Not necessarily in one of the sites, though. We can see it's all focused around the connector and the outer area by water here, trying to stop Flipside from pushing in on this direction, and this also does give them a possibility to rotate up to A much faster, where the hit is probably going to come from on Flipside in this round.
It's a bit of a stretch as well for NiP to hope they'd go through connector at this point. They can make a bit of a dash through, which is the thing, maybe try and catch out someone, but it'd be very rare on a buy against pretty much just pistols that anyone's going to go just wandering through there. Shara's in a great spot if he can actually land these shots and doesn't get overwhelmed. Sprays down for 2.
He's waiting for
Forest exists. There we go. This is nice. This is much nicer from them, keeping it well in check while it's allowed to find Pit. And it's just Freiburg. I'm not sure if they already spotted Freiburg or he gave anything away, but they are looking towards it. Markov, World Edit, and Shara all here. They might actually allow World Edit to try and chase this one out, and he is. So the MAC-10's on the way.
And they're going to just royal down on top of Freiburg there, so he won't last very long. I will admit there was a possibility there for Flipside to end up getting surprised by NiP on that push, as it looked like Flipside were being a bit ignorant to it at first when they were just slow pushing, but there was some early damage that came out from one of NiP's players, and that immediately raised like a huge amount of suspicion from Flipside's end of that one, and Shar just devoted himself full time to looking down a connector, at which point he spotted all 4 of those guys pushing up. So NiP, although it was a good idea, didn't really end up working out so well. And now as we get into that first gun round, things are very close, 8-10.
The interesting thing for me here is the fact that Pitt's actually got the AWP over Forest. So normally you see Forest being the primary AWPer, but maybe Pitt just had the better spawn or just fancies it on this map. Forest is the one supporting him, and look at the aggression already, though. World Edit outdoes Pitt. That's the AWP now down on long. Forest is a little isolated all on his lonesome. Does he try and commit here, try and get anything from this, or does he need to back away? Again, the 3-play stack towards B has yet to really receive much pressure, so Forest going to take matters into his own hands. Goes on the prowl, and he might just find his first meal. There you go, Waylander gets swept aside, and he already knows that it's World Edit who took down Pitt, so he knows there's another here. Will he get away with more?
World Edit trying to look around as well, as he doesn't necessarily know which way Forest is going to try to come from there, so he gets a bit more aggressive, pushing out to the fountain, looking for him, but he looks away at the wrong time. It's Markelov, though, a little bit further back. That does meet the mark, takes down Forest, restores things back to their status quo. For Flipside to hold the lead. Moving over here towards the B-bomb site, though. This is where Flipside's going to go for the take. Works out for the Ninjas, though, as currently they have all 3 stacked. At the moment, Exist is leaving the bomb site to give some support to A, but he's still in a good position to rotate back down pretty quickly.
And Shara might be in a spot where he could have heard some steps from that sort of point, but I'm not sure if possible. But look at this lineup. They're all waiting to go through Monster here. Molly's going to go towards Get Right. He has to either commit or just smoke it out. He chooses to go for the smoke now. Pop flash over the top. Freiburg and Exist has to be the ones to do the damage here. Look at it. Freiburg waiting but it's a slow execute. They're waiting for their time. They're waiting for that smoke to go, and now they're going to take the fight. Get right, just dodging the bullets. This is brilliant, but no, friberg takes the fight as quickly as he could, but gets shoved out by Shara. Get right with the spray will deny the plant, leaving Exist in the 1v2.
Get right's so patient there. He finally picks up at least one kill before going down, but now the plant's coming in with 8 seconds left on the clock there. They're going to be able to grab it. Exist moving out, looking for one kill. That spray is going to be messy and whirled in it. He'll close it out with the pistol. Flipside have that first gun round now under their belt, and they're only 1 round behind the Ninjas.
This is a brilliant build from Flipside now, looking a little more dominant, starting to hit those shots. And this start is perfect. Sure, Forest brought it back with the next frag, but couldn't capitalize anywhere beyond that. And even considering NiP had 3 players on that B side, Flipside still just powered through. So good stuff coming out now from Flipside. This is the team we want to see. Again, though, NiP haven't fully stabilized here. They're back down towards the pistols, so this should be 10-10 now. And well, Flipside, you've got a game suddenly on your hands. Let's see how far you can take this. This could be them going pretty far in this tournament now.
The Ninjas have decided to get a bit more aggressive again on this eco round, pushing out, no longer hiding down below inside of the connector though. They've got players out in the open just at the entrance to the connector and the entrance to short A. friberg, who's already done a little bit of work with his deagle previously, is going to try to do it yet again. Flipside though, taking it very cautiously. They know that this could be a large possibility on Ninja's end. They're just going to hold back for a few moments here to run the timer down.
Good read so far from Flipside. Not sure how much information they've actually gathered anywhere, but just a good sense of how they want to play into this. Blade, Shara, and Waylander just at the forefront here, just finding room throughout this map. Forest is the one who's on the other side. That's easy, you could tear them apart here, but Blade steps out into it and actually steps out well enough to be traded for eventually by Waylander, but still, damage is damage at this point. That molly not going far enough might give a false sense of security, but it doesn't. They back away and they take the safe route. They are not going to walk into easy positions where these pistols can do even more work. But it's friberg last time who really excelled with the deagle, and he's going to be asked a big question again.
Not this time.
That's a swift response from Shara. Just no, we've had enough of what you've done before. We want to keep this round clean, and they might just do that.
It looked like it was fully peaked, but the headshot comes in very quickly from Shara. It actually doesn't even look like the Ninjas are going to be attempting anything here. Those with the pistols are going to move in, but we've already lost Pit. Exist found a rifle, as he saw in water, so he's definitely not going to be moving in. Need to try and stack up some money here, as the Ninjas are off to a rough start, and any free rifles that they'll be able to get is going to be a godsend for them to try and build that money up again.
Definitely need it. So far, we haven't seen much from NiP taking the reins. Their T side was pretty, I think one-sided's wrong, but it was pretty confident. It looked well-versed. Now on the CT side, they've been kind of just laying back and taking it from Flipside at this point. And, well, get right into this. I doubt anyone's going to be close enough to really find them, so they should be able to retain this.
We can see again that the rest of Flipside makes it safely out of the sight. No one else will be lost here to the remaining members of the Ninjas, but at the same time that rifle is saved. Going into this one though, it was going to be a buy round regardless, but all it really does is save some money on Exist there to be able to maybe go for another 4-sip or give them the option to do so. 10-10 though, we're tied up. Flipside have rounded the comeback on this T side, winning the first 5 rounds. And they'll have a 6th in front of them. Waylander, Markeloff, World at it doing work on the first half as well. These are some big performances we are seeing from the T side.
And they don't look phased yet at all, Flipside. They haven't had to go to kind of wondering what to do. They seem very, very proficient in their ways. Pit again on the AWP, however, taking a different approach, not toward long this time, going to be facing from party, doesn't see anyone. Doesn't mean no one's through, though. It's Waylander who's actually managed to sneak past the touch there, going to be flashed down, allowed to escape by Forest. And just need to fall back towards the side. So it looks like NiP going to be going for a little bit more of a passive approach, at least for now. And Pit's going to readjust himself towards long, but you can see it already building from Flipside. They want to start to get that map control going for that bit of a default play, but they need to be cautious. They can't be lulled into that full sense of security. They've had a good half here, but they are still even. They're still 10-10. They need to take that lead a little further. And the first challenge might be Pit on long. He's going to actually back away from this. Could be looking for a possible boost from Forest, could just be looking for a better angle, just being a little more passive. Again, limited information given by Flipside. Look at the utility they've retained as well, Blue.
They're still keeping a lot of it in their arsenal indeed, and for the Ninjas here now, they've got quite a few Molotovs to work with. Still a single smoke sitting on friberg here down at the B site, but Flipside, with 45 seconds left on the clock, are just now starting to push forward to gain some ground towards the A site. And also keeping Shara outside of construction to try and surprise and act as a late entry to box the remaining members of Ninjas in if this take goes well. It's going to start off well with Roland finding that kill, and Forrest just walks right out there, cannot find a frag. He's taken down by Markeloff.
Great contact play so far from Flipside. It's down to GetRight, who has to be the last standing bastion here for NiP. The backup's on the way, but it's GetRight doing it all day again. Goes in for the 30, gets it, and Flipside being shredded down by one man. That's 4 kills back to back. Freiburg steals the 5th, but there's always danger on the board with these boys alive. But Flipside had such a start into that round. You had to believe that was theirs for the taking.
It starts out so well for Flipside as well, but then they just walk one by one in the GetRight, and he rips them to shreds. So GetRight saves that round single-handedly, and not only this, but it saves the lead for the Ninjas. They're right back into the mix of things now, but Flipside built up a pretty strong economy within those first few rounds, so they've got enough to buy in again. They're right back into the hot seat, and we're going to do another gun round here.
So the first time that Flipside have been stopped, but that was by an individual. That wasn't them tactically outdoing them. They still lost those first 2 kills. They still messed that up in, I guess, a way to a degree. So Flipside still in a good position here. They should still be able to take this one forward. Let's see how they approach it now. Again, a couple of questions now being asked of them. Can they now start challenging these individuals out? Can they keep this peak performance up that everyone's looking towards, as Forest is the man on the orb this time, a bit of a switch up?
It feels to me, to the flip side, I mean, I didn't necessarily get a good idea as to, well, we'll talk more about this in a second, because Forest is going to find a nice first shot against World. But it seemed like to me when Flipside were still going into that site, they had a lot of utility to maybe try and flash GetRight in that corner. He wasn't moving, he was just sitting there very stable. At one point he was completely flashed, but so was Flipside. They never really tried to do anything about that though, and they just blindly walked into him one by one. So that was kind of the fault of Flipside for never trying to counter him back out.
See how they decide to close the net here on the flip side, boys. Considering what it now down, it's going to be a little bit tougher for them to find their way into these sites. Already operating at a disadvantage is going to be tricky. But Flipside aren't rushing things. You know, noted and renowned as the mini Na'Vi, that pacing certainly does bleed across from one team to the other. Tactical, you could call it. Patient again. The bomb still left pretty far back here. No one really rushing things. See if they can punish some of this aggression that's coming out from Pit. If they give this up, this could be deadly again. Pit, you've got to be careful here. Don't let this one slip. He doesn't. That's kept in line. Blade now removed. It's Shara to respond accordingly, however, which gives opportunities towards B. Pit's now going looking, and it's Markelov who's got the bomb. This could be huge. Pit again. Incredibly influential kills into this round, leaving Waylander and Shara in pieces.
Waylander finding at least one more pickup towards the end of the round, ending Pit's reign just outside, but there are only 10 seconds left on the clock. So Waylander will not find himself doing anything else beyond that in this round. Saving the AK, finding actually a free op at the edge of long, so there's a silver lining for him, I suppose. Ultimately though, the Ninjas put down another gun round from Flipside, and this time probably isn't going to be enough to justify going for it again, although we might see it. We've got 2 other players that could buy, so it's up to them now to make that decision. And it looks like they are going to go into it. Another AK purchase there for Waylander. The other 3 yet to buy, though.
Okay, Flipside. I'm wondering if when they're going to look at taking a timeout. I wouldn't suggest now. I don't think it has to be now particularly, but I think they might need to start not worrying, but you don't want to allow NiP back into this game, because that scoreline was quite condemning on that first half, of course, Blue. It's a slippery slope, and if Pit's starting to fire on all cylinders, it wouldn't be a bad thing to take that momentum and confidence away from them, but still. Let's give it another shot here for Flipside, see what they can achieve in this round. Again, it's been losing out on those early picks. They've been losing out on early advantages that they previously had. We haven't seen those kind of like all-in-sight hits yet from them because, well, NiP haven't been really letting them.
We've seen some very good steam here from the beginning of Flipside in this half, and I don't think it's necessarily run out just yet, so I wouldn't see the pause coming in. If they are losing this one, though, and that would essentially be 3 gun rounds in a row that they would have lost, then that's going to be a fairly crucial point to take it, because now there are reoccurring issues on every single round that the Ninjas are finally using against Flipside to stop them from making any momentum at all here. First round, of course, they managed to take it in. It was just GetRight sitting in a corner. Okay, that's a bit of a fluke there. We'll correct that in the next one, but then they just let Pit walk right up and destroy their entire hit by dropping the bomb so early on. So unfortunately with that incident, if we see something similar to that happening again, then there's definitely something big happening on Flipside's T side. And they need to take a timeout to figure it out.
Now Forest back on the AWP on the CT side. Blade.
Don't wrap that corner, Blade.
Yeah, just don't do it. Don't fall for its trickery. It's an alluring corner, clearly. Look at those beautiful flowers on top, but no, Blade. It's not where you want to go.
They're both just holding back in that corner, too. But in the meantime, we've got Shara pushing into the B-bomb site. He does have Exist Flash, but he will be able to find the trade. Markelov taking him down afterwards, though. 3 left alive for NiP, with 4 still going strong for Flipside, pushing into this site. They've been smoked off at heaven, so Forrest can't see anything. He's just taking some blind shots, hoping to get lucky, but it won't happen. Now they've got to go back into this site manually.
This is not going to be a nice retake as well. The CT side down a player as well. Forest on the AWP not finding easy picks here. Already gets removed, and now Pit and GetRight. It's time to run. Good stuff from Flipside and good stuff from Shara to just get straight in there and find that opener.
And immediately, the Ninjas now, just with 2 left up and running, it's going to be Pit and Get Right falling back to save. And, well, there you go. That's why they didn't need a pause. They found the issues, they corrected it. And with that big explosion play out onto the B-bomb site, they managed to find another round and still keep this game extremely close. Get Right may have himself a battle at the end of it, though. Markelov peeking out. Markelov's brought down to 34 HP, and I actually think he's going to respect that. He's going to fall away and let Get Right get the save. Doesn't want to lose another rifle. That was an issue we saw in the first couple of rounds. As Flipside were trying to chase those kills down a bit too hard, and it left their money a bit lower because of that.
Yeah, look at the impact that's had as well. The money for NiP is pretty trash at the moment. You've got Exist on 2.9, 2.3, 3.2 there for Freiburg, and Forest, of course, in the middle. So they're going to force up around it. They kept those 2 rifles. They don't want to allow that momentum, that round swing to go back into the hands of Flipside. They want to break this right back, but if Flipside have worked something out here, if they found a way to just really claw their way back into this game, this is deadly times, and look at the aggression straight away. Get Right, Forest, Pit, all going walkabouts. Wayland looks aware of it, though. Going to be keeping his eyes on that smoke, trained to see if any pixel comes out of place, but already slowing down the pace.
Pit going for the watch along too, but he falls back to a pretty safe position after that. Shara, though, he's going to be finding himself in one against Freiburg in a second and just stands there, never even realizes that Freiburg has pushed him. Can't react to it. And Freiburg will grab that first kill. No trade anywhere in sight anytime soon for Flipside.
Flipside again losing out on an opener here. Not exactly how you want this one to start, but they could punish maybe Forest or Get Right in these sort of spots. They could certainly open up a chance, but Get Right makes a mad dash, so he's already out of trouble. He's gone away for free. It's Forest who's left there with the CZ, and, well, Blade with the vertical advantage will come out on top of that one. Bring it back down to this 4v4. How will Flipside now approach these sites? They need to eventually get there, but it's good for them to even it out. Not operating under a huge loss. They can split these CTs up towards each site and keep a huge numbers advantage towards it.
And they can basically go to either site now, too, because Ninjas have pulled back all that aggression. I still feel like it's going to be a bit dangerous for Flipside to go out towards water, these 2 in connector right now, which is why they're going to get Markelov in here to help out with that a little bit. Make sure there's still nobody lurking by construction. It'll be safe, so they can push out here. And if they decide to go for the site, they'll be dealing with Get Right, along with Freiburg holding a little bit further back underneath the tracks. They're ready for it, though. They've got that 2-2 split, but it's called off. There's 20 seconds left, though, and they're changing this up. They're not leaving themselves a lot of time to get control. Thankfully, all the nades it is through into B.
Pit's coming back.
It's worked. It is on the way back. Pit's going to be trying to hold this, but still, they've put them out of their usual positions. The flashbang comes in 9 seconds. If they're going for the safe plant, Pit peeks out from semi. It's going to be traded quickly, though, by Waylander as they take him down. Exist moves out, finds another one against Waylander, and a second against Blade now. It's just Markelov. He's held back. Thankfully, it's the safe plant, but now he's got a miracle to pull off here, and he's got no flashes or anything to hold the Ninjas back.
Well, an excellent gambit from Flipside to start with, but it is down to Markelov in this 1v3. Bomb not being defused just yet. He takes the swing, he takes the fight, he doesn't get the shot he needs. Now Freiburg's holding it down, having full faith in Get Right to stop Markelov from having any traction into the round. And in the end, it will be an NiP to close it out. But Flipside, again, these rounds are so close. They're becoming so borderline theirs. And this spray coming in towards the second part, I don't know how he hit that, but what a stunner. Blade just getting his head taken off.
And thank God for Ninjas that they did realize that that was a fake heading towards the B-bombs. It looked like for a second they were going to fully rotate on that one because the timing was so low. Flipside took a huge risk. Initially, it looked like it was paying off, but Exist with that hero play saves it for the Ninjas again. These big individual plays are keeping them in a lot of these rounds and keeping the lead going for now against Flipside. In this round, they are going to buy into it. We did see a downgrade on Shara. Forest also in an aggressive position, tries to find an early frag, but misses the connection onto players crossing into the playground area.
Yeah, and Pit being resigned back to not being on the AWP. He started out on it, but not the case to be sticking through. It'll be Forest to take that over. We're going to position himself up on long. And look at Flipside. Look how far back they are on this. They are waiting to see what's coming their way. And you can't really blame them. There have been those dashes of aggression coming out from NiP. And again, Forest just going to be waiting to see if he's got another challenge. He won this one out last time. Well did it. Does he fancy it again? Good timing on the flash. Going to force Forest away. Allow the angle to be won over by Well did it. But this is still very early into the round. So much to play with here for Flipside.
Taking a look now at Flipside, their players still in a very, very restricted positioning. Pit, along with Forest, finally starting to move forward here to investigate things again. But looking at Flipside, they haven't given them any sort of intel. 50 seconds on that clock. They're running it down a bit low again. They're not really well formulated either. They're going to start this push. The good news is if they all peek out, Forest may find himself a dead man unless he can eat this first connection. It's going to be World Edit, though, that peeks out. Takes him down. Gives Flipside a man advantage to start this off.
And I love the Shara as being such a constant nuisance towards Exist and Freiburg. They cannot rotate, but now look at Blade, slowly working up long. Pit ahead of the curve, though, has a chance to do some serious damage here, but will Flipside look? Well, they do eventually, but it's too little too late. The bomb's now down. Freiburg's there, takes out Shara, and here's Gerai, the king of spray, reclaiming that title again, denying Flipside a step towards the site. And again, this push looked so brilliant in the making, but now running out of time. Wilder going to take a quick fight, and he gets shut out.
It's Gerai from Semi again that picks up a 3K on this round. Pit starting the meltdown by pushing forward and picking up those first couple of kills, or that first kill just outside of the bathroom. And from that point forward, it just looked like a mess on their push. So the Ninjas did look like they were going to falter for a bit, but now they've restored control. The +3 lead, and for Flipside, well, the money's just not all that great, and they're actually going to save this to take it into OT instead of just outright winning it. They can't really justify it here and actually scratch that.
Did you mean to do that?
They just called for pause.
It's too late.
Yeah, that's not going to fly. It's a bit of a mistake there from Markov.
A bit. He has no armor,
the rest,
Galil. They're having to kind of...
Yeah, the rest are going back to try and buy now.
This?
So that, I mean, if they lose a round, that just caused GG right there. Because now their buy round screwed because of that.
Ugh. Oh, that sucks.
Thanks, Markov.
It may have been a missed call, or even just a missed buy, or just, I don't know. Maybe not his head switched on after such a great comeback, getting confidence, and then just being so down in the dumps, being in this position. But again, at this sort of level, you can't be allowed to get away with that sort of thing. So yeah, it's going to be Flipside operating in a really tough spot now, considering what Blade has literally just a Glock. You have a P250 with Shara, you've got armor and a P250 with World Edit, and just a Galil with Markov. You better go hero mode here now.
Absolutely, and we can see from the Ninjas, they are getting ready. They've already lost Waylander too, which isn't necessarily helping their case. Lining up for a pretty typical B hit, and the Ninjas already have 3 fully committed to the site. Get right pushing down to take down Shara, eliminating him. He is brought down to 16 HP. But at the same time, looking to hold back more. Runs out of ammo on the primary gun, but now EXIST comes in, shuts down Markov. There goes that rifle. And Blade and World Edit have a P250 and a Glock left. Not even the Glock anymore, as it's just World Edit. And, well, there you go. Ninjas have no trouble handling that run. Don't lose a single player along the way. And because of that, I mean, the real question here is what kind of buy are we going to see from Flipside? Now, because of that rifle buy, Markov has a downgrade to a Tech 9 buy. And World Edit is only sitting on 2,700, so he's not going to be able to bring anything all that great either.
Oh, this is not good. And now you're stuck in the pause like, nice, Markov. Yeah, I think Blade's just giving him a little bit of a nudge as to, all right, let's see how much you can do. He's not having a bad game, Markov, to be fair. Individually, he's been perfectly fine. But outside of that, it's a tough one for Flipside. They've been breaking in with those kind of all-in sight hits, which now, if they have to operate with less than ideal weapons, really won't go down well. But again, NiP aren't in the perfect spot. Of course, being on 15 rounds, they can just kind of suffer through it. But their money isn't completely robust. There's still players down under 2K, players sitting around 2.4. It's not ideal, but they're still doing well enough. They turned the tide after a brilliant comeback start from Flipside in the second half, after what was a bit of a, a bit of a hit and miss one on the first. So for Flipside, it's do or die time.
And essentially this pause is going to allow them to figure out maybe a strat that they're going to pull off here, but it is not going to do a whole lot for them considering what just happened in the last round. That pause coming in very early at the beginning, probably to try and cause a reset of the round, but as you've noted, by this point in the tournament, we do not give those resets for missed buys. So they're going to have to try and figure out an amazing strat to close out not only this round, but the following 3 after that too, to try and take this into overtime if they still want to have hopes of winning this map against Ninjas. It was looking great, and I mean, even if we go back like 2 or 3 rounds, the scoreboards for both teams in respect to individual fragging power was almost identical going down the list. We had 20 kills for the top fragger on both sides, and then it was about 18 for the second and third players and going down from there and whatnot. So it was looking great for both teams. It's just Flipside lost all their steam there when we saw the Ninjas finally striking back, and they just haven't been able to recover it.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on in that sort of essence. Again, the timeout's coming to a close. You can see Blade at the start of things really talking things through for Flipside, maybe just highlighting what he feels may be an issue here or there, what the game plan is coming back into this. And again, you can see them get themselves ready for that final go of things here if it doesn't go their way, of course. Bearing in mind, this is a best of 3, so it's not over just yet, even if NiP do close out this round.
And we'll be getting into it now. The unpause has come in. Waylander and Markov downgrading to Tech 9s. Waylander doesn't even have armor. He just has the Tech 9. So taking a look, World Edit, here's the choice they made. They did give World Edit an op to work with, but it's been at the cost of Waylander's armor and basically any utility that he would have bought there. So we'll see if this pays off, as it is do or die time for Flipside.
All right, so what have we got coming out from NiP? Let's take a look at it. It's Pit going in towards that underpass connector area. So he's just going to be sitting that one out, seeing if anyone tries to push up, make a play towards toilets. Currently, it's Markelov kind of toying with that idea, kind of doing the same thing on the other side. Is anyone going to get aggressive? And I'm going to try and make a bit of a Hail Mary play. Not right now. So going to maybe play around what World Edit has, considering he does have the AWP. He's going to be a huge factor into this round. He needs to lead the way.
Forest looking for the first kill here. We can see Waylander jumping up and down with that Tech 9. Maybe trying to draw some shots out from the members of NiP, but not finding anything. And he knows he's still jumping around there. Just hasn't been able to find his crosshairs in the correct position just yet. In the meantime, though, more support going to be coming his way. Pit's here to try and hold this back as well. World Edit getting boosted up. Shara has had some luck, being able to take down Freiburg just outside of Monster, and he'll find another duel in a second. There's another boost from World Edit and a second kill to follow that up onto Pit. There's only 2 left alive for the Ninjas now.
A huge investment that might have just paid off perfectly, and is down to Get Right again. Waiting on the side, gets overrun, and Blade is the one to do it. There is still life among the Flipside players. They're not done just yet. 12 to 15 now. Previously said the money wasn't perfect for NiP. They're enough to go for a bit of a buy here, but it is not going to be as robust as they'd like. So again, Flipside in with a good chance now to build back here.
And after the economy got messed up like that, they win the round with all 5 players left alive. So Flipside making up for that mistake and huge dividends now. But the economy's not going to matter with Ninjas being on 15 rounds. They need to win it out from this point forward. The buy coming in, they are going to see 1 downgrade on Get Right going into a CZ. He has done plenty of work with that, though, so he's definitely still going to be a force to be reckoned with, even with full rifles and the op on rest of Flipside.
Forest, Pit split up this time. Get Right with the CZ, just kind of roaming in between. He's trying to find a place where he can be relevant in this round, but going over towards what Flipside are doing, you can see World Edit being pretty much the leading factor in this. He's the one clearing these corners. He's the one taking a lot of this initiative here, and he has to. He had the brilliant impact in that prior round, so back into his hands again. He spots out, I think that was Pit taking a little bit of a leap up and over. I'm not sure if Pit saw them, but he's going to fall away from this and sit back deeper towards that A site. So now allowing a little bit more room for Flipside to take themselves into this round.
Blade sneaking his way through. Just trying to make sure that there is no presence from the Ninjas here. And now as he moves back out here to the rest of the team. A minute left. Keep in mind, they've been bringing this timer down very low before they even attempt to formulate their take. So it's no surprise to see this happening. Again, just now going back to grab the bomb and group up. And it is looking like it's going to turn into a B hit here. Markelov and Blade making some noise as if they would be pushing in towards A, but that definitely will not be the case. They'll be joining their teammates down through the connector in just a moment.
And previous times, Shara has been actually extremely successful in opening up that B site. He might be asked a bit of a tough question again. Freiburg's be the one waiting over by those toxic barrels. While they're checking close, I think they just put him out. The molly comes down. They've got to make their move. And here we go. Freiburg swings out, takes the fight. Well, it goes. But where's the rest of Flipside?
Oh my goodness, Freiburg gets caught looking to the other way, and that's going to be an open shot for Markelov. He finds a second onto Exist as well. He's not going to be able to hide in the pit. Get Right at long range with the CZ, tries leaping himself in there against Markelov, but he finds a 3rd kill now. Forrest moving in. There is still some hope for NiP to close it out on this round as he takes down Blade, but it's a 2-on-3. They only have flashbangs to make this work. Pit still on the other edge of this one, moving it. They're not even paying attention to the other. Oh, Forrest shuts down Shar after being brought down to 20 HP. He's picked up and up now, and he's going to try to move back in even terms. 2-on-2. Pit also moving in from construction. They know Markelov is tucked away in the CT. Cubby over there. He's sticking the bomb. 4 seconds left. Forrest misses the shot. He's going to give up on it, but we see Forrest making the connection. Waylander finds the response. The bomb timer getting so low. Forrest trying to creep in looking for this kill, but Waylander denies it. And Flipside still in this game now, 2 rounds away from OT.
And you may have said that Markelov could have cost them a shot of that. He is trying everything he can to build back through it. He is not letting his team slip just yet. A big round from him. However, Forrest almost had that reply, but look at NiP's money. They may be on 15 rounds, but they are looking a little weary as to closing this one out smoothly. And this night is going to get extremely late if this keeps on like this. These close games, this is sick. This is what we want from the majors. This is what it's all about. So Forrest's going to come in with a CZ. That's it. Everything else is purely clean. And Flipside should be able to go through this round.
All right, so the aggression will continue for the Ninjas, though, now that they are going to be on Nico here. And again, there's not a whole lot being brought up. I think the only player that even bought anything here is Forrest with the CZ and a flash. The rest are just sticking with the default pistols. They are saving for the final showdown on round 30.
Looks like NiP going to go for a gamble towards A this time. Pit, Get Right, Exist. Forrest towards long. Freiburg being the only man by B at the moment, and World Edit already finding Get Right is going to mean this one's looking a little bit easier, which is a bit of a shot there, makes up for it towards Exist. And can't quite catch the heels of Forest as he tries to make a dash away with that CZ clutched to hand. Not going to get it. Blade's going to find him, and there we have it. Flipside, unless Freyberg pulls off a miracle, which is not going to happen right now. Flipside are going to go to that ever so important round. They're going to get 14-15. This is on a knife's edge. Flipside are back in this game. It was a disastrous first half, but they were not down and out, and it all comes down to this one round.
Apologies got called by the Ninjas too. They're gonna cause a bit of a discord now against Flipside. Flipside, here's the thing too, is Flipside are pumped, they're ready to go. They want to get into this next round and take it into OT. Ninjas, nah. We're going to make you wait a few more minutes. And that can bother players. We've seen that happen plenty of times before. Plus, they're going to need a minute here to try and formulate themselves as well. This is that final round. They do not want to risk this going into overtime. These gun rounds throughout both halves have been incredibly close. So overtime could be a real mixed bag as far as what we see from both teams.
Flipside, as you said, taking the wind out of NiP's sails there. Excuse me, NiP taking the wind out of Flipside sails, if I can use my words correctly. Yeah, a bit of a tough one now coming back in for NiP. Seems like it's been quite some time before they've been stringing rounds together. It's been Flipside being so brutal on this comeback. The money's enough here for NiP, so they can at least get a good buy coming in.
The problem is that I don't think there's enough to give someone an up with armor. So if they do want to bring an up into this round, it's going to need to be glass cannon.
I don't think it's going to happen here at this point, unless Get Right's feeling.
They're still talking about it if they want to work with it, but I don't think it's going to be a possibility here.
They've had some impact. It was Pit who started out with it. Then he didn't have much success, so they switched over to Forest, picking it up for a while. He's been hit and miss with it. He's had a couple of good rounds here and there, but it's not been a consistent factor, and maybe they're feeling they can operate without it. As you said, it could have been an option if they maybe wanted a glass cannon here, but they've not gone for it. So looking at this one, it will be all M4s across the board. A fair bit of utility to play with, so they've got enough, but at the moment, one kit as well on Get Right. So again, this is going to be a bit of a tough round now for NiP. We could be looking at an overtime here.
It's a very real possibility, and you could see too when we were looking at Flipside a few moments ago, they are really trying to talk this out, taking this pause as much of an advantage for themselves as the Ninjas are, making sure that they are clear on the plan before they even go into this round. I would actually be interested to see if there's going to be just more outright aggression from Flipside, because they've been playing a very passive game the whole half, and we saw that from NiP on their T side too, that when Flipside started stacking up those rounds, the Ninjas had a sudden change of pace. They went very aggressive all of a sudden, and they weren't ready for it. So if they have a possible kind of mindset here, and the Ninjas at the same time suffer from the same ailments, then it could work out great and immediately throw us into that overtime off of a very quick round.
Yeah, and we discussed the win conditions, or at least the desk did, towards what would help Flipside go through this matchup, and the fact is that they needed those guns to go off in the form of your Markelovs, your Worldets, your Waylanders, and so far they are turning up. Shara too is actually having a very good game, but we are back into this one, 14-15. This is map 1 here in this best of 3. Currently NiP are in the lead, but by a very thin margin, and Flipside have been on that comeback trail. And we've got a double up for the T side coming through to play here. That's Markelov and Worldet picking those up.
We already have Shara just outside of Monster. This has been typical for him, and he's been pretty good at winning those initial 1v1s at least before being traded out or having to regroup with the rest of the team, making some noise down to the B bomb site. But it's going to be basically straightforward as far as this entire half has been concerned from Flipside. They're not doing anything too different on this round, and the Ninjas having a lot more aggression, specifically in that bathroom connector, having Freyberg and having Forest and Pit hiding inside of there, with Get Right a little bit further back just behind the flower pots.
I actually quite like the way they're not taking huge initial fights either. And look at this, they had the double up to start with, but they actually dropped out an additional rifle for Markelov, so he's actually gone all the way back to spawn. They had no instantaneous luck, there's no big aggression pouring through, so he's gone back, picked up the rifle, and come back through. So that's actually quite a nice little touch there from them. Again, having that sort of money on this sort of round, you might as well go for those sort of things. Anything to give you the advantage, but looking at the posture that's starting to form behind the Flipside boys, it's looking like a tender towards B for now at least. Again, that could all change here. They could move Worldet and Shara through short and kind of come back up through connector, but it doesn't look like the plan here. Exist and Freyberg might be the ones to decide everything here when it comes to this map for NiP.
There's going to be a boost again. They've been using this a lot with Worldet, and he almost gets an opportunity to find a kill there. Ducking just a little bit below that. Freyberg is going to be able to avoid death, and not only this, but Forest and the rest of the Ninjas got aggressive towards the A side. They've caught out Blade, taken him down, and now there's going to be shoehorned and going for a B. This is not looking good at all. There's no time left. Exist finds a first kill. Waylander with the trade, but Freyberg on a peek grabs two. What happened? All of that formulation, and then such a huge amount of hesitation on the final round. The Ninjas just close it out entirely. There you have it, though. 16-14 in the favor of NiP. Is going to be our first map score, and they'll be one map away from keeping their legend status and moving into the main event here at LANXESS Arena.
Well, hello then. Welcome to the analyst desk. NiP pick it up in the end. 16-14. Couldn't have been much closer than that one. And Flipside had the advantage coming into the final round. Gentlemen, we have to try and understand exactly where it went right for the Swedes, but by no means an easy affair, despite us favouring the Ninjas quite heavily in our pre-match segment. It does seem like we go in saying it's clear that these guys are the favourites, but no matter what, and in true Flipside fashion, they keep things close at the major once again.
Yeah, I mean, part of it comes down to the big story for me was, it's both very tactical teams, but NiP has the firepower and the individual plays, and you could see that actually. They needed, there was that round Get Right had at the A bomb site where he gets those 4 kills. That's something that I don't think the Flipside players can pull out of their pocket when they needed, when it's because that was like a 3-on-5 or something in that situation. But what Flipside did have was contributions from areas they don't normally get. They had Shara over 20 kills. They had, Markelov as well was in the mid-20s, right up there with Waylander and World. It was one of their good games. So they had a lot of individual effort behind these tactics.
But then on the other side of things, Mr. Get Right decided to show up again. He's been having a great major, Yanko.
I mean, this is a very crucial round because NiP was down 5-0 in the second half, and as Jason pointed out, it was a 5v3 round for Flipside. Get Right is in a position which should be, you get 1 kill, maybe 2, and then you're immediately traded because he has nowhere to go, but he manages to get 4 and buy time, and in the end, Freiburg comes to clean things up. So I feel that this is exactly the type of rounds we see at majors from both NiP and Flipside, in a sense that NiP is known for these magical rounds, so to speak, where they, just come back from a deficit. And Flipside, as the underdog team, this is where you see the kind of mistakes that are being made that in the end cost them the game. 16-14, they win this round. NiP forced to another eco, and that's all they needed.
Yeah, and for me as well, it wasn't the most comfortable map for NiP. Generally speaking, you expect them to do well on the T sides, but I've always felt that with Flipside, a team that is very tactical, they always tend to play a very passive style when they defend on Overpass. And if you have a team like NiP should be getting the 10 rounds that they're getting because you give them so much space to work with. They don't have to, use much in the way of resources to get that space, as opposed to like most teams. Like let's say if you're playing, SK, for example, who have a lot of very forward presence. So I feel like there's lots of ways for Flipside to easily improve their match there, because their T sides are quite good. You can see NiP actually struggled with, they knew they had to they couldn't give everything away for free. Sure. They tried to pressure, Long or Toilets or whatever, but they couldn't quite get the trades because, again, as we saw, individual performances that we didn't usually see cropping up here for a Flipside, which was great.
It's always such a weird one where you have Blade has these great performances when the names you'd expect to show up, and then when the names that you expect to show up, it just seems like a back and forth. You never get all members of Flipside there at the same time. It's always just a kind of a one or the other situation.
Blade is the quintessential, guy that you can point out as someone, though, who is going to impact the game in a massive way without actually impacting the scoreboard. Yeah. I mean, that team goes nowhere. This team goes nowhere without him. If he's not there, they don't make the major. They don't have all these tactics that let him compete with NiP, who's much, much more skilled. So, I mean, his performance, you're not going to see it as kills and deaths. But it was a very nice game from him to call.
Yeah, I mean, 16-14, definitely not something to be laughed at. However, Flipside have their work cut out, because after the break, we'll be talking about Cash, a map NiP haven't even lost on since the arrival of Threat, and that was, of course, prior to DreamHack Summer, where we did see Immortals take it. We'll be talking all about Cash and, well, Flipside's chances of getting to the LANXESS Arena in just a moment. We're going to take a quick break, guys. When we do come back, we're going to be talking all about Map 2 of Game 2 of Day 3. Stay tuned.
Get your team apparel now at shop.eslgaming.com.